Hi, I'm Dan, and I despise Shudder slasher Christmas movies.
I'm Erin, and I love Shudder slasher Christmas movies.
I'm Alonzo, and this
is the Deck the Hallmark podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast. Brandon and friends host this podcast. We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Aaron Shea, producer extraordinaire Aaron Shea, host of the show this week. You had a chance to say, and this is the Deck the Hallmark podcast, and you did nothing.
I know. Sorry. It's weird trying to produce from this seat and also host. So
yeah. Well, I'm doing the cameras and the sound, as you could tell by all of the delays.
Yes.
So
we're doing great.
We're doing awesome. It's cool to
Aaron,
be
you're
here.
like Barbara Streisand directing herself. You have to have both those hats on at the same time.
Right. Welcome to
Don't worry. By the second ad break, I'll get it.
Yeah, of course. No, I will too. Oh, I have to use that button this time. I didn't have to use that with Alonzo. Welcome to Monday. It is May this time. I promise it's May. Brandon not here. In his place, though, we have producer Aaron Shea, and she said, I'll come on the show and I'll be a host if you get a cool cup. And I was like, what's a cool cup? And she was like, this is a cool cup.
Because it matches my sweater.
And I was like, okay. And so I went and got a cool cup. And I was like, if you're watching on philo.tv/DTH, you'll notice.
But neither one is a Stanley. And that's
no,
important.
We don't have that kind of money. Venmo, please. BrambleGymPlus.com subscription. Like if you want to see the real Stanleys, that's going to cost extra for sure. And Alonzo here as always on Mondays. Alonzo, how you doing, sir?
I am great. It's lovely to see you. I'm sorry that Bran is under the weather, but I'm sure he's on the mend.
I would say that Bran hates slashers, but I would hope that we all hate slashers.
He just hates Monday.
You know what I mean? Like he hates Monday.
Yeah, he's just boycotting Monday.
He just was
and loves lasagna.
It's been a while since I've just been completely derelict on my job. I'm gonna call it for a few days. Alonzo, we had a great interview on Friday. I hope people got to listen. If they didn't, go back and listen
Thank
to
you for that.
Alonzo and myself talk about this new book coming out, Hollywood Pride. It comes out, gosh, at this point, I mean, we're getting down to it, just over a week away.
At a week. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's
May
exciting.
May 14th, for those of you who can't do math.
That's right.
Thank you.
And you can pick it up wherever you pick up books. And we thought, what better way to celebrate that than to watch a slasher movie on Shudder is what we're doing this week. It's called It's a Wonderful Knife. I had never heard of this movie. Alonzo, had you seen this movie before?
I had actually. I think Dave and I might have reviewed it on we go on one of the NPR stations here in Los Angeles once a month to talk about the weekend's new movies, and I think that might have been one that we talked about. So this is my second time, and I have to say I liked it more this time.
That's why you don't ever write reviews, kids, is because your opinion could change. Producer Aaron Shea, literally yesterday we were watching this movie, and you walked by and you were like, "No thanks,
no thank you.
I hate horror movies." Basically just like that. And here you are.
Well, I walked in at what sounded like a very violent moment.
There are some of those.
I couldn't see the screen, and I just said, I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah.
And then
you heard the Foley, and that was enough.
That's right.
I was like, yeah, sounds like you guys got this. I'm going to go in the other room.
And then Bran went down with the sickness. Everybody get down with the sickness. And
except for us. We are not
down with the sickness.
Yeah.
But you mother get up, down with the sickness. So Erin is here this morning, and she is, I was like, I don't really care if you don't like horror movies. You have to watch this movie. Because there are always three hosts to Deck the Hallmark.
I'm going to defend Dan here for a moment.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, do you want a third person to, offer some opinions? Because I'll watch it. And Dan was just like, I want it known.
Yes. I want
so when I can do this,
that's right.
You do not need to watch a horror movie.
Would love a third, but for the person that less than 24 hours ago said, I hate horror movies, maybe you don't have to. But you know what?
Yeah, I did.
You did it.
Yeah.
You did it.
Erin's a trooper. She's making the show must go on.
Above and beyond. And Bran wrote a synopsis because he thought he was going to be here before he decided, work sucks. And so I am going to try my best to read the synopsis and also remember which of these is the synopsis button. I think I know which one it is, but it's going to be fun if I'm wrong. And so let's do that, and let's see what happens.
Which
from
words
there.
will you mangle strategically? along
Ooh,
the
that's
way?
going to be good.
I think whatever button you press is going to be the synopsis music that we just choose for this episode.
Yeah, this is what we call playing with house money, because if I mispronounce a word, you know that I'm doing it because I'm acting like Bran. There's no losing here. I can go as fast as I want. Here we go. It's a Wonderful Knife aired November 10th on Shudder, and it went a little something like this. We're in Angel Falls, the Christmas capital of the world. The whole town shows up for the Christmas tree lighting, led by Henry Waters, who's basically responsible for building the new Angel Falls, and the highlight is going to be this amazing shopping plaza, Waters Cove. We meet the Carruthers family. The father, David, works with Henry, and Henry insists he tries to get this final guy to sell his house so they can start building Waters Cove. The guy's name is Roger Evans, and he continues to refuse to sell. David's daughter, Winnie, heads to a Christmas Eve party with Roger Evans' granddaughter, leaving him home alone. He gets a knock on the door, opens it up, and it's a snowman. Suddenly, a Ghostface-type killer, but Snowman busts through the door, and Snowman slits his throat wide open. At the party, Kara, the granddaughter, is with a boy kissing, and when he gets impaled from being by a long, sharp candy cane. That can't be right. He gets impaled from being behind, whatever.
From behind, just
Yes,
from behind.
there it is.
From behind.
The killer then goes after Kara and tracks her down just before she gets inside and kills her. Everyone sees it, including Winnie. She runs outside and gets attacked by the killer. After a bit of cat and mouse, the killer is on top of Winnie's brother when from behind she electrocutes him to death with battery jumper cables, which is fantastic that didn't make the synopsis somehow. I don't even know, what happened there, and now I've lost my place. Oh yeah, electrocutes him to death. She pulls off the mask. It's Henry Waters, played by Justin Long with teeth. Cut to a year later, and the Carruthers are now running the town, and everyone seems totally over what happened last Christmas. She goes to the Christmas Eve party and discovers her boyfriend has been cheating on her for a year. She storms off and goes to the pier and says, everyone would be better off if I was never born. Stop me if you've heard this before. Just then, the Aurora Borealis lights up the sky. Then all the lights go dark, and she sees the killer is back, and now is just killing all willy-nilly. She runs and finds the sheriff, who is now Henry's brother, Buck, and he has no idea who she is. She says she knows who the killer is. Just then, Henry shows up, and he also doesn't recognize her. She says she doesn't actually know who the killer is, and goes on her way. She goes to the party, and everyone is doing the hard drugs, like some crack pipes and stuff. She finds this weirdo that no one likes and figures if anyone's going to believe her, it'd be them. And it takes some time and a close encounter with the killer for Bernie, this weirdo, to be like, yeah, this makes sense. Winnie decides to try to talk to her dad one more time and tries to convince her father that Henry killed Jimmy. But David just gets really angry and tells her to leave. On her way out, Winnie witnesses the killer murdering her mother and a man she was having an affair with. Don't ask. The angel then tries to attack Winnie and Bernie, but they successfully knock him out. So they take off the mask, and it's David, her father. They think that Henry must have had David under some sort of spell and is causing him to do all the killing. So they get him to come to a movie theater and they kill him. So Winnie and Bernie head back to the pier, assuming Winnie would return home to her time since they killed the killer, but it doesn't work that way. And they figure out it's still Henry who is the problem. Winnie and Bernie come across a weird gathering hosted by Henry where all the attendees appear to be hypnotized by Henry. When Henry attacks Winnie, Bernie stabs him to death, breaking his control over the people. The Aurora reappears. Winnie and Bernie kiss, and she wakes up in her own bed. She runs downstairs, hugs her family. She runs through the town telling Angel Falls that she loves this crazy little city, and she shows up at Bernie's house. And it turns out Bernie remembers the whole thing. They kiss and begin to celebrate Christmas together, and that, my friends, was It's a Wonderful Knife. We did it.
Just wanted you to go back to camera 1 so that I could be on screen. But that's okay.
It's a Wonderful Knife. We did it. We did it. Let's take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll break this movie down with 4 segments like we do every time on Deck the Hallmark. And I just said what I was supposed to say to leave us to break.
Deck the Hallmark.
Welcome back to Deck the Hallmark. Things are going great. We've had
Brand who?
We've had no exactly. Yes. We've had no issues. And to be honest, my batting average is what his is. Like, let's not act like he's perfect.
We give Bran a hard time, but he does know how to drive this bus.
How dare you?
Are you recording the audio?
Yeah. I'm recording the audio. See, there's things you don't even see.
Sometimes Bran doesn't do that.
that are going on that I'm doing. Let's break this movie down. It was on Shudder. It's a Wonderful Knife. Hot take time. Alonzo Duralde, what'd you think of It's a Wonderful Knife?
I really like this movie, I have to say. I liked it okay the first time. I liked it even more this second viewing. It feels like it was a bet, you know? Like, how do we turn It's a Wonderful Life into a slasher movie? And I think they succeed in doing that, in that they sort of keep the main themes of It's a Wonderful Life, but also then give you the, sick kills.
Sick kills.
Sick kills, as the kids
That's
say.
right.
And I think you do really ultimately care about the characters. It does what Christmas movies so often do in terms of offering redemption. And it's not included in the summary, but the whole thing is, Winnie thinks that she's the George Bailey in all this, and that
it didn't make the summary. She's Clarence, and Bernie is George Bailey. That's
Bernie.
right.
Yeah. It turns out Bernie is the George Bailey.
Doesn't
and Winnie
work
is
exactly, but it does work some.
Yeah, which is an interesting idea. It's a cool twist, and it's a little bit tacked on, but I'll allow it. So yeah, I mean, it's not perfect, but I think there's a lot to like here.
All right, Aaron.
And I'm not a horror movie fan at all.
Well, Aaron Shea doesn't watch them. She doesn't do horror movies, and you need to know that right now. Aaron Shea, what'd you think of It's a Wonderful Knife, knowing that you hate horror movies?
Yeah, I really liked this movie.
I thought you might.
Yeah. I was telling Dan, my main thing with horror movies is I do not like gore just for gore's sake. If there is a good plot and a reason behind it, then yeah, if it's a part of the storytelling, I can get behind that. And I thought that that's what they did here. Like, there was a cohesive plot. You really care for the characters and what they're going through. And I even thought that some of the killings were really cinematic and really enjoyed the choreography of them. Like when they kill Peter at the party, like with the stage lights flashing, that was great. And then later on in the movie theater, like
the strobe.
Yes, like I was just hooked to why I was working. So I had like work on one screen and was watching this on another screen, and then just kind of abandoned work for a while because I was drawn into this movie. And I think that's great because as someone who doesn't like horror, I would watch this again for sure.
Fantastic. See, look at this. You're learning new things.
Oh, and also Justin Long's performance in this movie is a must-see.
I feel like Justin Long relishes the opportunity to be in these like seedy horror movies and die. Like he just he loves it.
He was just so good. Like the voice, his facial expressions. I would have watched it. Like that was I was like, yeah, I'll watch it. I mean, I want to see what Justin Long performance, and then the rest of it swept me in. But yeah, you should watch it for him alone. Yeah.
I had a good time with this movie. I'm not sure I'm as high on it as Aaron or Alonzo. I think I love a slasher mystery. The Scream movies, when they're good, they're some of my favorite movies. When they're bad, they're really bad. And I think for slasher mystery movies to work, you have to have characters that you care about or that are in on the bit. You have to have a good, solid mystery. And you have to have sick kills, as my good friend Alonzo Duralde has said. And there was a point in this movie where I looked over at Brandon and I said, the kills are starting to become repetitive. And then we got the scene in the movie theater with some really inventive kills in it. So the kills work most of the time. The characters are all in. Joel McHale, Justin Long, the rest of the cast, they're all game for this. And the mystery, you figure that out pretty quickly. I don't know how much sense it makes to have this guy going around, unless he's under this spell. And it doesn't quite all coalesce. But the movie as a whole is a fun time. It's 85 minutes long. If you like this kind of stuff and you want to see them try to accomplish It's a Wonderful Life, but slasher, you could do a lot worse than this movie. I really, really enjoyed it, and pleasant surprise for me. Yeah, good. No thoughts?
Yeah,
great.
yeah. All right.
Fantastic. Okay. Awesome. Let's move to the All the Feels segment. Something in this movie that gave us Christmas feels or slasher feels or other feels. Alonzo.
Well, to piggyback on what you were saying, I think that it's exciting that this movie can take "It's a Wonderful Life" as such an established text at this point that you can then offer these kind of variations on it. It's sort of like what the new movie "The People's Joker" does, where the filmmaker's telling this very sort of personal coming of age story, but doing it through the characters of the DC universe, so it's sort of like how people would use like, Oedipus Rex or Hamlet or something is like, this is my starting point, and then I'm just going to like do my other stuff on top of it. So I liked the chutzpah of that. I forgot how queer this movie is. Speaking of Hollywood pride, you've got the gay brother, you've got the protagonist who is probably by the end of the film seems like she's maybe bi. You've got the lesbian aunts, and so that's I'm always down for the representation. I thought there were some very cool slasher moments, particularly the strobe lights, the flashlight, the camera flash in the movie theater. And I wrote down Justin Long's teeth.
Yeah, I mean Justin Long's teeth. That was a choice that was made.
Yeah,
and
he's splitting the difference between Old Man Potter and that guy.
I love. There's one scene. And this isn't my feels, but there's one scene where he has this weird voice, like higher register voice, the whole movie, and then he gets hit, and there's a brief moment where he drops the voice, like he gets really low, and he's like, "Don't touch me, don't effing touch me," and it's this like, oh, he's like. He just turned on the real villain move, like the Kaiser Soze move. Like he fully just like, and then he gets himself together and he goes back to the voice. And I'm like, Justin Long is doing more than any of us asked him to do for this.
and that scene that occurs in the scene where basically there's like this weird culling. It's like something out of a Shirley Jackson story where the town shows up and you're all going to be judged naughty or nice. It's like, that's kind of creepy and a cool idea.
Definitely creepy. Aaron, what feels did you have aside from awesome, cool slasher? Go.
I actually
more blood, please.
I had a lot of feels actually in this movie. Right from the get-go, opening on a commercial for Justin Long where he says, "I'm the best."
That's my feels.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, go for it.
F the rest.
Yes.
I was like 1 minute into this movie and I'm like, I'm in.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
If this is how they're setting the tone for this movie, great. I really liked the family relationships. I'm very close with my brother, so seeing Winnie and Jimmy's relationship and how much they cared about each other, and seeing her deal with the fact that, like, in this alternate timeline, her brother is dead because she wasn't there to save him. And then my other feels was when they're at the movie theater and the "Let's all go to the lobby" jingle played.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Like, my favorite part of going to a drive-in is in between the two movies when they have, like, the dancing hot dog and stuff. Like, that's my favorite part of the drive-in. And so when that started playing.
5 minutes.
Yes. And so when that started playing, I was like, yes, we could sit in this theater all day. I know there's a serial killer out there, but I'll watch this jingle and be great.
Those were my two. The let's all go to the lobby and the opening scene of this movie, but I'll go a different path with the opening scene. Alonzo, actually, I want Alonzo on here. Yeah, Alonzo, have you seen the movie Cedar Rapids with Ed Helms et al.? The opening scene of this movie gave me Cedar Rapids feels. It's a movie that,
I can see that.
For some reason, I just adore the movie. I don't know why I love it so much. I just think it's so weird and it works. But there's a commercial at the beginning. They're in the middle of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and they're like the prestigious One Diamond Award or something like they do on TV. And I'm like, this felt like that. And then at the end of it feeling like Cedar Rapids, a movie that I love more than anyone should love that movie. Justin Long goes, "I'm the best, F the rest," and it takes you, like, it just kind of like catches you off guard,
okay.
and it is fantastic. So I quite enjoyed that. I enjoyed that scene, and I enjoyed the "Let's all go to the lobby" scene quite a bit.
But real quick, I want to point out: did you catch the shout outs to other Christmas movies in this movie?
I caught some, but I'm getting the feeling I didn't catch all. Do you have some for us?
I have a couple, basically, but like on the marquee of the movie theater, it says "The Bells of St. Mary's," which is the movie that is showing at the movie theater in Bedford Falls when George Bailey runs by and says, "Merry Christmas, Movie House."
Yeah.
I noticed at one point it said, "I know what you did last Christmas."
Right. Well, that was funny too.
And then
but
Christmas
that's the whole
Carol,
thing.
"I know you did last Christmas."
Of course.
And then, of course, there's a scene where they make her try on the terrible pink outfit.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is right out of A Christmas Story.
Yeah, I didn't catch that one. That's great. Yeah, that's a fun scene too. All right,
I'm going to throw in one quick other one. It really did work for me when Bernie said, I'm not Clarence, you were. That worked for me.
That worked for you.
All right.
Well, it was this touching moment where Bernie says, this was going to be my last Christmas, and you saved me. And so thinking, just being like, you're the, realizing that you're important in people that you don't even know that well.
Listen, I'm not here to get into an argument with anybody over that scene because the emotion behind that was so wonderful.
Yes.
But as soon as they said that line, in my head I went, no, George Bailey is definitely the one that wishes he was never alive. Like, you can't just decide that the protagonist of the movie,
but it's like their motives behind it.
You can say, you were my Clarence. I would have been fine if it's like, you know what? I get this is your story, but you were my Clarence. You know what I mean? Like you're our mermaid. Like I get that. But when she
it
said
works for me and you're wrong.
You were Clarence all along, I was like, what? I don't think I love the sentiment, but I don't get it.
I'm between the two of you. It is a bit of a check that the movie is not quite ready to cash, but I still appreciate the
check would bounce. But the scene had quality emotion in it. I think that is more than fair across the board, and I'm happy it worked for you, Aaron. I'm super happy. If it had worked for Bran, I would not have been happy, but it worked for you, so I'm thrilled. After our next break, and I'm going to wait to say the name of the podcast till we go to break, so everybody get freaking ready, okay? After our next break, we're going to talk about the Wait What's and the Shudder Me Timbers. What was it?
Shudder, you don't.
Shut up, you face.
Shut up, you face. We'll get to those two segments after this break right here on
Deck the Hallmark.
You went early. All you had to do was wait on the...
I was nervous.
This
you built it up too much.
It's going to happen again. You're going to host again, and I just want you to get the intro one. If you do that one, then I feel like, that's the big one.
Well, by saying that, I'm never going to get the intro one just to spite you.
Yeah. Fair. That's more than fair. Welcome back to Deck the Hallmark. You can watch each and every one of us here in all of our glory on Philo TV, philo.tv/DTH. And you can listen ad-free, BrambleJamPlus.com. A lot of ways. And we got the chat going, Bramble Jam Plus chat over here, which I've not been paying attention to because I've had to push buttons and stuff. We're talking about It's a Wonderful Knife on Shudder. It seems like we all enjoyed this movie to a certain degree. Did anything make us go, no way. Wait, what? Alonzo?
Well, okay. Again, this is an alternate dimension movie, and a lot of things where you gotta have to just go with it. I'd say it does a pretty good job of coloring within the lines that it's established for itself. The only one I'm going to bring up is that I wish we had established that not only is Justin Long a terrible person and greedy, realtor and developer, but apparently also has like this power of mass hypnosis.
Yes. Yeah. Just chuck that in at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. That seems like a lot to just sort of take as read. So maybe like a little bit of exposition to get us there, would have.
Man, when those green eyes came out, I was like, what is this has not been in this movie all movie long. Why is this happening right now?
I get that at 87 minutes, you got to keep it trim, but just like a line would have
something.
Helped. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, I think it all stacks up.
Wow, it all stacks up beyond that one little detail. Aaron?
I have a few. Before she makes her wish, after she kills the killer in the present timeline, where he has his first night of killing, she stops him, we move on. It's a year later. She is confronted by the mayor's brother, Buck. And he is just like, I will never forgive you for what you did to my brother. This whole town is happy, but I am not. And you know what, Buck? Can we just take a second? Your brother murdered 3 people
so many people.
One night.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you're grieving, but take a step back and maybe don't threaten somebody who's in self-defense murdered your brother.
But also, she did it to save her own life.
Right, in self-defense.
I'm mad at you for defending yourself
against a killer.
Buck has been established as not the sharpest bulb in the chandelier at this point, but I guess that's a bit of a stretch.
Real bad.
Yeah, and he does shove her up against the shut down storefront of a funeral home with no less than a dozen out of business signs printed on printer paper. I just want to know if how many signs did they need to put in that storefront for us to know that it was out of business? 'Cause there was
so
several.
many, and not to be morose, but with all the deaths going on, you would
Why?
think the funeral home would be bumping.
Would be in business.
Well, no, that's it. The other universe has all the death going on. This one
Well,
doesn't.
there's 3 that just happened. It's a year later.
A year
Yeah,
ago.
that's right. No, you're right. Stand
no one's
corrected.
died
Since then,
in a year.
no one's
she,
died.
She killed
Nope,
the killer.
nothing.
Everyone lives.
That's right. She brought
it's also- it
eternal
says
life to Angel Falls. It's unbelievable.
It says Waters Funeral Home. So clearly the guy that she killed, it was his funeral
Oh,
home.
that makes sense.
Easy.
Yeah.
The robe, the angel killer wears a white robe. It stays impressively clean
Oh.
for most of the killings.
Crisp.
Like not a single blood splatter but gets on that robe for most of the killings. And I was just impressed. I want to know how, why, how.
Yeah, if you're thinking about showing this movie to your kids, I mean, the movie, like if we were seeing this in a like in 3D, like blood would be splattering at you. Like there are slashers like everywhere, and that's why Ghostface wears all black in Scream.
Yes,
it's because you can't
it hides stains.
But the white, and it
All
was
white.
crisp, pristine, the whole movie.
He's like rolling around on the ground, no dirt, no wrinkles. I just want to know what material that was. I would like to get some.
That's right.
Let's see. Oh, and the last one that I had was at the end of the movie, like her dream is to get into college, to go to NYU for photography. She doesn't get in. And at the end of the movie, she owns up to her parents, hey, no, I did hear back from NYU. I didn't get in. And her dad says, thank goodness NYU would have been too expensive for us.
Woof.
And in that timeline, for the last year, they have been the head realty of the town.
That's right.
They are thriving. They bought their son a brand new truck.
That's right.
I don't know. Maybe don't tell your daughter that her future is not important and too expensive.
Probably a year of NYU in that truck, I would say, if they just purchased the truck.
I was like, look at the house you're in. You've been thriving. You own this whole town, basically. Your son just has a brand new truck. I don't know if NYU was too expensive for you.
I think the joke there is that it's because it's her, like because the son gets the truck and she gets the terrible workout outfit. So it's like I think if the son had wanted to go to NYU, they'd be like, oh yeah, sure, great, we got it. But you, it's really pricey.
This is in the present day where they apologize for not
and
recognize her trauma.
And they give her a better gift.
They give her a better gift. They recognize her trauma, apologize for not. And so I was like,
but they're still, I don't know.
It just caught me off guard. I was like, do better, Joe McHale.
Fair.
I got a few more. My main one is how Brandon didn't include the entire "you were actually Clarence" in this synopsis. It is such a major part of this movie. We've already talked about it in the feels, but part of this movie is our lead finds someone to believe her that she's in It's a Wonderful Life. And then that person helps solve the mystery, has a murder board, the whole thing, and then realizes it really was about saving their life. And that is a huge part of this movie. And if you listen to the synopsis, you probably didn't hear that in here anywhere. I would have given him a hard time about it were he here. I'm going to be the same guy since he's not here. I will say the two things that are very convenient for this movie are, number one, the hypnotist thing at the end, and number two, that even in the last timeline of this movie, Bernie remembers everything from the old timeline. No one else does. Nobody else remembers any of that, but Bernie does remember that. I felt that to be very, very kind of the movie to make sure we wrap this thing up, and it is what it is. I'll get to a few of these.
I just think the Aurora Borealis was like, you've had enough
the Aurora's
trauma.
like, we gotta,
we gotta throw you a bone. Thanks for writing the timeline.
This group of people is throwing a Christmas Eve party the same date, time, and location that they did the previous year when 3 people got murdered at it. And I don't feel like that is. I feel like people are people of tradition, but teenagers are going to be like, parents are going to be like, you're going where? On what night? Do you not remember literally last year when this happened at the same place and the same night? Like, what? Why?
I mean, they do establish she feels like she's the only one who remembers that. Everybody else is very kind of papering over her personal trauma, her loss of her best friend. So I think part of the reason that she gets upset and makes the wish to the Aurora Borealis is that everybody else in town is just like, oh, well, that's a thing that happened, and has moved on, happily since then without thinking about the human toll. But there is, since you bring it up, I guess the idea of a teen Christmas party taking place year after year. Teens graduate from high school and new teens come in to replace them, and it's the exact same group of teens.
That's what I was getting to, which is all of these people are in that just 10th, 11th grade range. Like none of them graduated, which is fantastic.
Well, there's that one guy, Pete, who gets murdered later on, where they're like, what's the old dude?
Who can forget about Pete? Of course.
Yeah.
A few of these just that I couldn't get past. She gets in this she wishes she was never born, and then she goes to this alternate universe. Literally for 10 straight minutes, nobody recognizes her. Nobody knows who she is. Her dad doesn't. Buck doesn't. Nobody does. She goes to the party, and it doesn't sink in that she isn't real anymore until she looks at a yearbook. So like for 10 minutes, people were like, who are you? And then she opens up a paper yearbook, like an annual yearbook, and looks for her picture. It isn't there. And she goes, I really don't exist. Well, I've got some news. There were 10 minutes of conversations earlier that probably would have clued you in upon that fact.
When she picks up the yearbook, I thought, oh, there's going to be like an in memoriam page for her brother who died in this timeline and for her best friend. But no, she's looking for herself like,
yeah,
okay, are we good now? Are we clear on what's going on?
When she was looking through the yearbook, I'm like, there has to be a good reason for this. And when it's to find that she's not there, I was like, I need concrete proof. Where do I look? Who do I call? Yes, it's not all of these people.
Well,
it is
you know
yearbook.
How you keep your high school yearbook on
all
your
of
nightstand?
Them. Yeah, are you kidding me? Yeah.
Yeah,
I peaked in
high school. Where are Zuzu's pedals,
Yeah. In alternate Angel Falls that exists when she is not alive in it, overhead lights are not allowed. That is rule number 1 for Angel Falls. You can have lamps. You can have an occasional flashlight. You cannot. I don't think I see a single overhead light on in a building the entire time they're in alternate Angel Falls. Not one, which is just impressive, really, if you think about it, that everyone's that committed to being like they're in the original CSI.
I think the outside shots are better lit than the interior shots.
Yeah. I remember watching CSI in like the year 2000 and being like, there's no way they're splicing DNA in this much dark. They can't be. Turn a light on, gang.
I think this is Dave White's ideal universe because he is not. There are never the overhead lights. It's always like lamp, right. But like overhead light, not flattering.
Yeah, we can't do it. Can't pull it off. Not with this equipment. And then lastly, this is the worst security duo I have ever seen. Justin Long's character has 2 giant dudes in suits standing there, making sure nothing happens to him, and he gets hit. They ask if he's okay. Then he gets murdered. They do nothing. They say nothing. They stand and go, well, that's a tough break there. Why even have them? Why even have these guys? They didn't move. It's like, we can't bother with this. It's not important. And we're all pulling for Justin Long to die. But you'd think the security would step in at some point to maybe try to not have that happen.
Maybe they also hated working for him, and they were like, "Oh, we're coming, we're on our way."
But they're also a foot away and hypnotized.
He died.
Oh yeah. Oh no. All right.
Maybe they won't hit a girl.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
They were like, how bad could this be?
I'd love to.
There are 2 little girls.
I'd love to do something. They're stabbing him, but I just can't. I can't. Not in good conscience.
Not
my mama raised me right. All right. Let's get to, what was it? Shudder Me Timbers. What did we go with?
Oh, I have a shut up you face.
Shut up you face. I love it. Something, maybe questions we have, some clarity that we would like from the story that wasn't given, aside from that whole hypnotist thing that happened toward the end. Alonzo?
Well, I was just thinking, okay, if somebody can turn It's a Wonderful Life into a slasher movie, what other Christmas holiday classics are awaiting the Shudder /slasher treatment? Is there a Miracle on 34th Street with a homicidal Kris Kringle?
Murder on 34th Street. It literally writes itself.
Yeah, A Christmas Carnage, where Scrooge is a Ghostbuster or something.
love it.
I think they're opening a door here for a lot of other opportunities, and I am eager to see where we go.
Absolutely, I love it. Aaron, what is your take on this segment that I don't remember the name still?
I know you said besides this certain thing, but my only question is about the hypnotism. I want like a prequel about the mayor. How did he get here? How did he decide that murder was the only path forward? And yeah, I was totally on board with killing Jimmy, and therefore in the dad's grief, he joins the murder team. But then we meet the crowd of people and they all have green eyes. And I have so many questions that they didn't even throw. I would have been happy with one little line about hypnotism. Throw me anything.
That's right.
They just ignore it and move on. And I just want a prequel where we find out how he did that.
It's
And where to get that cool mask?
It's even harder.
The fabric of your robe. How did we, where the prequel ends with him getting his robe, and I just want to know more about it.
You kind of guessed that it's Joel McHale in there the whole time, but I could never figure out why. Even when they reveal it, I'm like, why would he do this? And then the hypnotism thing comes along. I'm like, oh, well, there you go. We did it there, I guess.
But how?
Yeah. That's a lot. And mine is a lot more technical. You said, Aaron, earlier that some of the kills were cinematic, and I agree. I think that's one of the highlights of this movie. The first kill, when he kills the old guy, they do a close-up, and this is pretty gory, but they do a close-up of knife on neck, slicing it open, and the knife is just nowhere near the skin. Nowhere near it. And they put sound effects in, and they make it to where you shouldn't be paying attention. But of course, I'm like, that knife's not even touching the skin. And Braden's like, you're right, it isn't. And I just want to know from a filmmaking editing perspective, you have all these great kills, but the first one loses a lot where it's so clearly a prop. We know you're not actually killing people, but we're supposed to believe that you're killing people. The first is so clearly a prop that it kind of takes you out of it a little bit. And I feel like that could have been cleaned up. And I want to know, I'd love to hear how that made the final cut, I guess is what I'm saying.
I'm seeing in the chat, I do want to clarify a point. I'm not on board with killing Jimmy.
Aaron is pro-murder is what we heard here.
What I meant
Aaron
to say,
loves
and
killing.
maybe I didn't
That's
say
why she
it,
doesn't
was
like horror movies, because she wants it to
won't
be real.
Stopped until her bloodthirst.
I didn't understand how Joel McHale would become the killer, but then understand how he would work with the mayor. But after his only son, his pride and joy, is murdered, I could see him succumbing to the power of the mayor. That's what I'm on board with, that explaining that plot line. I'm not on board with the murder of Jimmy.
You actually said specifically, I don't watch slasher movies. They're so unrealistic. That's not how others would kill people in real life. I'm pretty sure you said that exact thing. So
I want to know where he gets that rope.
If later today in Greenville, if someone is found with a yellow not Stanley Cup sticking out of their forehead,
that's right.
This will be edited.
When was the
evidence.
last time you saw Bran? I don't know.
But also, you're not using, if you had a real Stanley, you're not using that to murder anybody. That's why,
That's too expensive to murder.
No, we can't waste that kind of.
I paid $2 for this.
That's right. Come on, let's just be real here. We did it, everybody. This was fun.
Yeah.
Highly enjoyable. Check out It's a Wonderful Knife if you feel so inclined. We'll be back tomorrow with another one, and the day after with another one.
Tomorrow we get to watch Earthquake Underground from Tubi.
Ooh, finally?
Finally.
Man, Alonzo's not joining us for that.
I will not.
Unless Bran is still missing.
It's one of those few earthquakes that happens underground.
Yes, unlike all the other ones that are usually in the sky.
That's right, yeah.
I will be here next week, however, and do you know what we're talking about, Dan?
I have no idea.
Oh my, it is hang on, I want to get this title right, because it is as we always do on this show, a contemporary Christmas classic. That would be Urkel Saves Santa the movie.
Oh, right.
Is Jaleel White in it?
It's an animated film, and I believe he is the voice.
Well, if Jaleel White was in a live action movie as Urkel again, I would just be like, I love it. I don't care. It's like Bran with Boy Meets World. It doesn't matter. It's great. But an animated Urkel movie
Yeah. And I have never seen a second of Family Matters, so you get to annotate this for me from stem to stern.
Did I do that? Fantastic. Urkel Saves Christmas, or whatever it's called. It's a sequel to Ernest Saves Christmas. Another minted.
Santa Saves Santa.
Saves Santa.
Oh,
minted.
Ernest Saves Christmas.
Oh, love that movie. Yeah. Until next.
Sorry.
Unbelievable.
One last
this
thing.
is the third time. First time.
It's never gonna
second
end.
time. Third time. I'm just trying to do the one thing I don't do.
Last thing, if you go to Shudder to watch It's a Wonderful Life, and maybe you do like a 7-day trial or whatever, check out the 4-part documentary Queer for Fear about the history of LGBTQ plus representation in horror films. I'm interviewed in it.
Ooh, fantastic.
And
More
if you want
Alonzo
to check
Duralde.
out more queer history in film, you can pick up a copy of Hollywood Pride by Alonzo Duralde starting May 14th.
It's like she's
and
been-
the
Thank you.
audiobook is narrated by
Yes.
the
Alonzo
Alonzo. So
Duralde.
It is.
May
Pre-order
14th,
now.
get all the copies, and yeah.
You know, they were going to get Alfonso Duralde to come do the audiobook, but they couldn't make his deal. And so we're stuck with Alonzo.
no.
It's unfortunate.
He's, they had to settle.
Is that it? Is there anything for the good of the of all of us? Second, emotion? Great. Until next time, may we be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas. Deck the Hallmark is a Bramble Jam podcast. Is produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.